Today I want to talk about trusting your gut, trusting your insides, people. Basically, that's it. A lot of times, as INFJs, we are introverted and intuitive, and that's our dominant function. But a lot of times you say, oh, that's all. I'll make sure my intuition. I use my intuition, and I'll make my decisions. I'll do things based on that. Now, people, there's sometimes in our life, it doesn't work right. Sometimes our intuition can be blinded, can be tainted, it can be skewed, and we're not always making proper prognostications, I guess you could say. A lot of times we may see events unfold, and depending on how our thought process are going, where our state of the mind is, it can be swayed, it can be changed, it can be just not quite right. So I'm going to give you a few breakdowns, people, on how to trust your gut, okay? Oh, by the way, this is Tom. This is the INFJ Experience, and that's what we're going to talk about today, people. All right? So, number one of the first things is not to be compulsive. Basically, people, especially as younger INFJs, now, I'm going to base this on my own experience. All right? I'm not going to go into too many specifics, but as a younger man, as a much younger INFJ, before I even knew who I was, before I even knew what an MBTI type. Now listen, I made mistakes in my life. I've done things based on being compulsive. Let's say you want something, you see something. Now a lot of times, yeah, come on, you can't help but to see something cool. And you just want it more than anything. You just want a certain thing. Maybe it's a video game console. Maybe it's maybe it's a motorcycle. Maybe it's a cool new shotgun. I mean, whatever it might be. It could be just about anything that you think is really cool. But the thing is, it's a lot of money. So you just go out of your way, you pay for it. Turns out, a lot of times, that purchase may not necessarily be the right purchase at the time. You were compulsive. You didn't think it over. You wanted it. You just desired it because it was just a want in your life. It was something to fill something you don't have. Now, that's another thing. As INFJs, yes, we know a lot about what drives us. And we know we're the isolated type. We're introverted a lot of times. And there are times we go into depressive states in our mind and our thoughts. And we go into sadnesses in our life. Sometimes we may just look for things to fill us in that moment. We may just look for little material things to take that void away. Okay, you're not feeling so up and down, you're going to get this. Now listen, this isn't just INFJs. This is anybody can do it. This is a human condition. We tend to do this, where we use material things to fill those voids in our heart, like I've talked about before. Now, we might all of a sudden decide you're going to get that thing that you want. You pay hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands, who knows, whatever it is. Now you get it. You get that thing, and all of a sudden, you use it a little bit, then it just isn't as exciting. A couple weeks, maybe a couple of months go by, and all of a sudden that thing is just in your closet somewhere. It's sitting out in your garage or something like that, and you didn't get any use out of it. It turns out it didn't really pay off. It didn't do anything for you, other than just fill a void, a whim in your life. So that was a compulsive moment. Now, one thing we do have an advantage of, people, is that INFJs tend to learn from our mistakes, and sometimes we make quite a few. And as younger INFJs, coming from my own experience, I made a few mistakes. And these are some of them that I made. I've made some compulsive moves and bought things I wished I didn't. So that's rule number one. Now, rule number two is think, process, and plan. Now, use this strong point. This is who you are. You are a thinker. You are a processor. You are a planner. In fact, sometimes we overthink things. But you need to have a good, clear set of morals. Your mind has to be clear, basically. You have to be thinking clearly at this point. So these things you might want, by trusting your gut, basically, a lot of times is we might get into that where we don't think it out. We might see it out. And a lot of times has to do with, like I said before, our compulsion, our desires. A lot of times, because we have such an incompletion in our heart, we look toward other things to stimulate us. Now, this is, again, a human condition. And so a lot of times we may not think things out. We may not process and plan. We may just look at it for the value that it is in the moment. And then we just may jump at whatever it is. Okay? So you got to think things over. And being that we're INFJs, you got to set aside these desires. If you can within your heart, you got to put things aside. Now, I got to tell you the truth, people. Right now in my life, I'm wrestling with me buying a editing computer for this YouTube channel. Now, I'm doing all my YouTubes on this phone, things like this. But eventually, I'd like to think I get me a nice computer. I want to get the components. I actually want to build it. I want to get the case, get the CPUs, and I'm learning all this stuff about computers. But I've been thinking about this for months. And that's what I mean. I could have been compulsive. But part of me says, wait a minute. But also, I still need to maintain things. I got a mortgage to make. Uh-oh, here we go. I think the heat's about to kick on. Yeah, the heat just went off. Believe me, I didn't want to hear that whoosh the whole time I was doing this video. So, but back to what I was saying is, yeah, I mean, I have these big plans for this channel, but I have this all on hold. I mean, I want to get my editing computer, but I've had to look into it. I've been researching it, but I've been putting on a hold because I'm trying to think it out. I want to make sure I'm fiscally sound before I make this investment. So things like that. Trust me, 20, 30 years ago as a younger man, I might have cleaned out my savings for this at the time and then been in a deficit. And I don't want to do that anymore. So people, you just got to think it over and plan out your decisions. Number 3, blinders equal bad judgment. Okay, blinders. You know those old things they put on the horses? You know, they kind of put the blinders on there so they're only seeing forward. Basically, that's it. You get tunnel vision. You get just one focus on your mind. Now, your intuition's going to tell you, don't do this. Wait a minute. Think it over. Your intuition the whole time may be telling you in the back of your mind, no, you got to think this over. Don't do this. And you're overriding this. How many times do we override our better sense? A lot of times we do that, especially early on. And you're going to make bad judgment calls because of this. You're going to put these blinders on, see what you want to see, project what you want to project, because this is what you want in that moment. And your mind's going to tell you, and all of a sudden your own mind is going to tell you, see, I told you so, months down the line when it didn't turn out the way you expected. So always listen to that better half of yourself. All right? So make sure you're making good decisions in the moment for that as well. Number 4 is seeing things for the reality, not our hopes. I wrote that down. So a lot of times we want to see things the way we want to see it. I mean, we want to project a certain thing. Let's say you meet somebody in your life and you see maybe she's a beautiful girl and she's sweet, but there's murmurs. Well, she did this to her last boyfriend, or she did this one time, or she did that. You might hear little things, or maybe you just see little things in her character, let's just say, I mean. But you put them aside because she makes you feel wonderful inside. Okay. She's filling that emptiness in yourself. Yeah, you always wanted a certain somebody. You want that soulmate. You're trying to project that soulmate into her, okay? So, but then you find out, months down the line, these little things you were thinking about start showing. All of a sudden, a lot of times, people wear a mask early on in the relationship. And we do it all the time. Human beings do that. They hide who they really are. They kind of cover that up. Now, INFJs typically, we're pretty good. We're pretty well adept with our intuition. We see people's expressions. And the older you get, the better that gets. But early on, you may see these things. You may see little things, but you think, but not me. It's not going to happen to me. Okay? Because you're hoping for something. You're hoping for a certain outcome because you want it to be the way it is. You want it more than what the reality is actually telling you what it is. So a lot of times your hopes can override your reality. And you project that on there. You might make a bad decision. So again, your intuition is always there trying to tell you. but you a lot of times are overriding these things because it's what you want. You're hoping for something, an outcome that you're seeing. All right? And number 5, our empty hearts and desires don't sway us. Make sure they don't. I kind of almost said that in the last one. All right? A lot of times, because we tend to be who we are, and a lot of times we're vulnerable. Early on in our life, people, INFJs, because we try to find certain things in our life to fill us. Now, this is my own experience. I've always been kind of a lone soul. And there's been times in my life, and I'm sure we all have, where we go through depression, we go through sadnesses, and we go through isolation in our hearts. And it's painful to face these things. And more than anything, our empty hearts and our desires can just overwhelm us to the point where we just we want to kill that pain. We want to take away that void. We want to take away that hurt. And sometimes it's overpowering, and we might want to, and we end up making decisions in our life that could be costly. Maybe we get into relationships that aren't necessarily healthy, or we get involved with people that aren't necessarily good people. And so we make the bad decisions based on our own incompletion in our heart. And that's where our vulnerability can come from, is INFJs. So ultimately, all these things of trusting your gut has to do with a lot of the fact that it's about our incompletion in our heart. It's about our lacking things in our heart that we wish we had. Again, we might see other people looking like they have groups around them, people around them, having lifestyles that just look fun and exciting, and meanwhile you're outside looking in. Again, I've said this before. A lot of times and so this is going to sway us. A lot of times we might make those bad decisions in our life, and we don't trust our gut, even though it's telling us. And sometimes we override these things in our heart. That we override these things in our mind. Our gut reaction, our intuition is all of a sudden becomes our enemy, in a sense. Don't make an enemy out of your intuition, your better judgment, your conscience, because this is your guide. This is supposed to be something that's leading you. And it may tell you to do things that are uncomfortable or may seem unfeasible for you at that moment, but it's really trying to guide you in the right way, ultimately. So that's basically it, people. Trusting your gut is all about just not being swayed into doing stupid things, basically. That's all. Gosh, this was a kind of an unusual video for me. I don't know about unusual. I just spell it out the best way I can. That's all. I'm not trying not to be as stuffy. I've noticed a lot of times I tried to be too rehearsed and things. I'm trying to kind of open up a little bit here and just be a little more out there, That's all. Well, anyway, people, that's it. That's pretty much what I got, is to trust your gut. Okay? Well, thank you so much again for attending. I'm glad you stopped by. You can always stop by here and review other videos I made. Now, listen, people. There's some earlier videos that I made a few months ago, some of my earliest videos that didn't get a whole lot of views. Yeah, some of them aren't bad, They're kind of stuck there. They're kind of obscure ones that are really in the inventory. But if you're interested, check out some of my early stuff. It's not bad material. It's actually pretty good. I just encourage you to go check out some of my earlier videos and see how they look. And you can see how far I've advanced myself to this point here, okay? Well, all right then. Well, people, thank you so much. Thank you so much for attending, and give me some thumbs up. Give me some likes. Give me your comments. Let me know you like this. And above all, subscribe to my channel. Yeah, please. Well, thank you so much again, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.